Okay, so when I think about rhythm and I think about, yes, that's really important, in the rider success scale, I'm fascinated and obsessed with what is the seat. What are you doing as a rider to keep your seat independent from the horse? Because if you want your horse to go forward and you want your horse to be in good rhythm, but you're not staying with the horse in rhythm, you're bouncing on his back, or you're coming off the side, or you're moving your upper body too much maybe in the canter, that all puts the horse out of rhythm. So seat is so important in keeping that rhythm and keeping that whole thing going. So what I've done is I've put in a recording that I did. It was the best recording I've ever done. I was going to redo it and I thought, you know what, this is really good. And it's everything I've learned. I trained with Richard Weiss, I trained with amazing seat trainers, and everything I know about different exercises you can do and different things that you think about with the seat. So I've put all that in for you. So have a look at all of that and happy practicing.
I know when I was learning, I had no bloody idea. I really didn't. I knew what I had to look like, and I really thought it was actually a bit more about looks than it was about effectiveness. Now I know it's more about how effectively can I use my body to influence the horse, and how can I make sure that nothing I'm doing is hindering the horse. So for instance, if you're a little bit crooked and you ride a little bit, I'm going to exaggerate anything that I'm doing, but let's say you're collapsing a shoulder and collapsing a hip, that's obviously going to block the horse from being able to move freely to the, excuse me with my lefts and rights, to the right. Another thing as well, if you're balanced, and let's say if you're not balanced, and you might be riding and maybe hitting the horse in the mouth with the reins inadvertently, not because you're trying to do that, but because you're using your hands to balance, and they might be moving a little bit too much, and then the horse can't go into a steady contact. So for me, when I think now, why is a good seat important, or why should I as a rider have to focus on having a good seat? That's what it is for me. It's about making sure that my body can influence the horse to do what I want it to do, and also that it doesn't hinder the horse in any way. So with your seat, the main thing that you need to realise firstly is it's not just about looking good. If you're too stressed, use that word, stressed, to look good, you're actually going to impede your seat. So if you're going shoulders back, hands still, and you're that rigid, you see how tight that is in your body? I don't know if you guys, sometimes I have clients that are like, oh my god, I can't move my shoulders, or I can't move my neck, because they've spent the whole hour going or doing something really, really tight. So it's all about, it's that beautiful paradox when it comes to riding. It's about having muscle tension, but not being tight in the muscles. So we relax a little bit about I've got to look good, I've got to sit in the saddle, and trying to force. Having a good seat is nothing to do with forcing your body to do something. It's just about teaching it how it has to move, and that just takes time. So there's 3 keys to a good seat. The first one is balance. Obviously, if you're not balanced on the horse, you're not going to be able to have an effective seat, so you've got to work on your balance. The second one is relaxation, which is huge. Again, like I said, if you're scared that the horse is going to do something, you'll be gripping with the wrong muscles. If you're trying to pull yourself into the saddle, anything when you use words like I'm gripping, I'm pulling, I'm forcing, I'm tightening, none of those words have a place in an effective seat. It's all just about, positive tension. Rather than, like, I'm holding my hand up, not by tensing every single muscle in my body, but obviously it's not so relaxed because the arm would move. It's whatever muscle tension you have to use to have the hand up, but not that it's tight. I trust that makes sense. Okay, so there's a couple of seats that people come out with when they're learning to ride a horse, so I'm just going to go into them now. So you've got the first one, which is, I don't know if I have to go sideways, which is the chair position. So it's like the rider sitting on the chair, and I can't do it because I'm not on a horse, but basically, you guys will know it. The legs are out the front. So there's the legs, and then the seat comes back here, and the rider is sitting too far back here. So I'm sure you guys know a normal seat riding a horse is a line from the heel to the hip to the shoulder. So I don't even know if that's straight. I'm trying to work out how much I have to bend my knees. But when you're on a horse, shoulder joint, hip joint, and the heel. So you want to have that. So obviously with a chair, and my way of figuring out how I'm going to sit on a horse is you want it to be that if you're riding a horse and they ripped the horse from underneath you, you would land on the ground. Like feet on the ground, not crash on the ground. So obviously, if you're in the chair position, you're going to land, if you rip the horse out from underneath me, I'm going to land on my butt because I've just got too much of my body weight too far back here. If I'm in normal position, you rip the horse out from underneath me, I'll land and I'll be fine. The next one is the fork seat, which I was a little bit guilty of in my early years. And the fork seat is when you're too far forward like this, okay? So your legs are all the way back over there and you're tilting forward and your instructor's always saying, lean back, lean back. Now obviously if you rip the horse out from underneath me, I'm going to land on my nose and break my beautiful nose. So we don't want to do that. So whether you've got a this tendency or a this tendency, and you'll know because your instructors will either be saying to you, obviously if you're doing this, your instructors will be going, oh, too far back, like sit for more forward. Or if you're like this, they're going to be like, always sit back, sit back. So depending on which one you are, just know and work on doing it. So obviously if you're in this position and you're forward and the rider comes, the instructor says, sit back, sit back, sit back. It might not actually help you doing that because you're like, well, I'm not balanced if I sit back. There's a reason you're doing this because you actually feel very balanced like this. And when you come back, you're like, ooh, I actually don't feel safe and secure and like that. But that's also, you've got to work out what your legs are doing. So if I'm leaning forward and my legs are back and I bring this back, I've just brought everything back. So maybe it might help to bring your legs forward. And then with your legs forward, you might go, oh, I can sit up a little bit straighter. The other thing to think about with your seat is, going to bring my husband into this. I don't know if you guys have ever been skiing, but when my husband first came out skiing, he was actually quite good at it. But what he would do is he would ski pretty much like this, and he would go around and he would be fine. And every time, I've been skiing for a couple of years, so I'd be doing my little sexy ski thing, and I'd go stand up, and every time he'd go from this position to stand up, he'd fall over. Now he would fall over because, have you ever heard your centre of gravity? The lower your centre of gravity, the easier it is to stay upright. Some kind of physics law, don't really understand it. But it makes sense. So obviously on a horse, when we get worried or when we get tense, we tend to shrink and shorten up, so we tend to pull our knees up and we tend to hunch our shoulders and try and get into, I call it like Phil's ski position, where it's just coming down going, okay, if I shrink into a ball, get my degree of centre of gravity lower, I'm going to be okay. So when you're on a horse and we're saying, okay, we want you to lengthen your body and lengthen your thighs and lengthen your upper body, where it's like a direct violation of, hang on, how will we be safe? So that's the first thing you've got to think about when you're doing the seat is, I'm going to be doing something that's going to be feeling unnatural, but it actually will help me feel more secure in the saddle. The other thing with the seats, you can have a crooked seat. So I always say to my clients, it's really fun, go out after you've had a shower, look in the mirror and just notice if your hips are straight and your shoulders are straight. So sometimes, I know I did, whenever I'd stand and talk to someone, I would always pop my right hip. So it'd always be just everywhere I would go, if ever I had to stand somewhere, this would be my standing position. And if you notice, like, wow, no wonder my horses don't half pass to the right, because I'm constantly, that is my natural position, so I'm blocking all of that movement that way. So I had to do a lot of work on opening up that hip and that shoulder and becoming straight. So that might not be you guys, but just see, okay, are my hips dead square and are my shoulders square? Some people like to hold their shoulders one way or the other, the school bag thing. They say the school bag thing could have done something. Don't know, but yeah, anything that's uneven in you will produce uneven in the horse. And we demand perfection and evenness and suppleness from the horse, so we need to demand that from ourselves. And it's a constant thing that we're doing. I think that's it. Oh, the only other seat that is really, that you might see is this. And this is that rigid, stressed out seat that I was talking about. So this is when the rider is desperately trying to do the right thing and they're like, shoulders back, head up, legs long, stomach in, and they're just tensing everything. They're getting the best workout. Oh my God, tired me. But it's not actually going with the horse because it's resisting with everything. It's not a soft malleable thing. It's rigid. And anything that's rigid can't go with the horse. So the first one is balance that we need to look at. Need to be completely balanced on the horse, so we're not gripping with a thigh or anything just to make sure that we don't fall off. So we need to get to a level of competence where no matter where the horse goes or whatever the horse is doing, we are sitting centered and balanced in the middle of the saddle. So when I think of balance, I think of riding a bike. Now, I don't know how good you guys are at riding a bike, me, not so good. But have you ever seen those people that can ride a bike without their legs on the, they called stirrups as well, on the pedals, and they don't need to have their hands on the handlebars? Have you seen those people? So they ride with their legs out and their hands out and off they go. Kind of like, can a unicycle do that? No. So if you look at that, you go, well, God, what are they balancing on? If they're not hanging onto the handlebars and they're not hanging onto the pedals with their legs, what muscles are they using to sit on that bike? And the answer is their two seat bones. And that is the answer for you as well on a horse. So you should be able to take your legs out of your stirrups, let go of the reins, obviously have the horse on the lunge or something, and you should be able to be completely balanced just on your two seat bones. So when you think of your two seat bones, I want you to grab your two hands and put them under your bum, and I want you to rock, and you will feel really two annoyingly hard, well, not annoyingly hard, they're good, two hard bones, and they're your two seat bones. And you can, I don't know, play around left, right, and you'll feel them have weight on them depending on what anything else is doing. So that's your two seat bones. And they are the two things that have to be in contact with the saddle, and they're the things that keep you balanced on the horse. So you've just got to remember to work on your balance. Now, how do you do that? The fun way. No stirrups. You know, a pony club, and they're like, okay, we're going to cross your stirrups over, and you're like, I don't like that at all. I hope I never have to do that again. There's a good reason why we take the stirrups off. Kind of like I said, to learn how to balance without your legs. So you've got no stirrups off your horse and you're walking around, you're going, you know what, I'm pretty good. And then you might have to start doing rise and trot, and that's always fun with the leg muscles. But the main thing that I use no stirrup work with is if you can do a 6-loop serpentine, change diagonal, do, you know, half circle left, half circle right, half circle left. If you can keep changing direction and you don't do this, which is what tends to happen, the rider's going well and then the horse goes this way and they kind of whoops, do that. When you can go with your horse's movement wherever it's going, you've got balance and you can get your stirrups back. Congratulations. So I did this for 6 months, riding 4 horses a day, no stirrups. It was a really traumatic time for all concerned, and I had to do it. I had the groom, I said, don't leave the stirrups there because my legs will get too sore and I'll just put them back. So she took them off all the stirrups and she had to hide them somewhere where I didn't know where they were. I would have gone and got them. But that's how strict you have to be. Take your stirrups off. Put them away for a month, 3 months, 6 months, however long you're ready to commit to, or for, in my case, however long it's going to take, until you can ride that horse perfectly. It's just that commitment that you want to do for yourself, I think, if you demand that kind of balance from your horse. So obviously I demand Grand Prix for my horses, I demand a whole lot of balance, supplements, just everything. So how dare I expect that if I'm not willing to put in the work? So if that's something you want to do, that's my suggestion. You want to work on balance, which is the first key to your seat, which has to be mastered. Like I said, you can't go with your horse if you're gripping with your thigh because you're about to fall off. You've got to work on your balance. Cool. Okay, so the second one is relaxation, which is one of the most important things I think to keep remembering, because when we're working on a seat or something like that, it's very easy to use too much muscle and then we lose that softness and that relaxation into it. So, like I said, if you're being told as a rider by your instructor, shoulders back, heels down, whatever it is, if you use all your muscles to do that, God, it hurts just to do that for a couple of seconds. But yeah, if you tense too much and really pull it back, you've lost that relaxation and that suppleness to go with your horse. So my advice, I guess, is when it is, it's shoulders back and relax. So I keep just coming back to there. If I say lift your arm, you can lift your arm or you can lift your arm. I hope you can see the forearm difference of that and the tenseness. You know, obviously I have to tighten my wrist, my forearm and everything else. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to raise your arm. So with the whole, with anything with the rider's position, we're saying put your body in that position, but don't lock it in. Don't use all your muscles. Teach your muscles to keep, so if I said, you know, I want you to keep your shoulder back, I can rip my shoulder back and use all these muscles to keep it back, or I can put it back and then kind of just keep saying, hey, you need to stay back. What tiny muscles need to come into play to keep that back? Another great exercise is just to learn how to move each body part independently of the other. So if I'm going to move this, let's say my fingers, that doesn't mean that my shoulder has to move with it. You know, so my shoulder will stay still, my elbow will stay still, even my wrist will stay still, and I'll just move this. So that's obviously very important if we're saying, okay, you're holding the reins and we want you to put your shoulder back. See how the hand doesn't move? But if I say put your shoulder back and my hand moves back to here, that's going to be a problem. So we want one body part to move independently of the other. If we say both shoulders back, we just mean the shoulders back. We're not saying pull, you know, your entire body weight back or your entire everything back. And see how the hands also move back. Unless the instructor wants that. If the instructor's saying pull your shoulders back to tell your hands to go back, then that's a different thing. So work out which body part is requiring to be moved and why and how. So you can start isolating everything else. So obviously a really common thing with me in rising trot that I see is rising trot and the hands are going up and down as the rider goes up and down. That's great, but the hands have to stay still as the body goes up and down rather than everything moving. So just start teaching your body to only move in isolation of each other. In that relaxed, soft muscle tension rather than that pulling. It's really, really important that you keep that that softness, because otherwise, if you're just being pulled and prodded into all different parts, you become a machine, and you just can't get into the third step. The third step to the seat is influencing the horse and going with the horse. You can't go with the horse if you're rigid. You have to have that level of flow. So that's why it's really, really important. And whatever you're doing, even, you know, when we get to the third section, we're still going to remind yourself, are you relaxed? Are you relaxed? Are you relaxed? And it's not even, it's worse, obviously, if you're riding a horse and you're actually tense and you're actually going, I hope I don't fall, I hope I don't, you know, then we're in big trouble. Yeah, so if you've got any of that, you need to fix that first before you even go into looking at your seat. You've got to be confident, you've got to be soft, you've got to be calm. I know it can get very, I just want it, and that can sometimes hinder, get in the way of you wanting this great seat because you're trying too hard and pulling too hard and you're forcing too hard. But yeah, just remember muscle tension. I can lift my arm like this, or I can tense it. Just get rid of the tension, but like the tenseness and the forceness of it, but still keep enough muscle that it's actually doing its job. And the other thing that you need to remember with relaxation is not too much. So to me, relaxation is lying next to the pool with a drink in my hand, reading a book on some island destination. That's relaxation for me. So when I'm riding or I hear an instructor going, relax, relax, I'm like, really? Relax? Oh, I'm not riding then. Like, to me, riding is not, it needs relaxation. I don't know if that's the right word. Definitely relax, 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 but don't take that literally, because relax is sitting on the couch doing nothing. Like, it's not that kind of muscle relaxation. Okay, the third one that we're going to look at, which is the exciting part of it, once balance and relaxation is locked and loaded, we're looking at the seat has to go with the horse. The seat has to move in, and this is when we're talking about that beautiful rider that just doesn't move. The horse is you know, the sitting trot is just, oh my god. And doesn't matter what the horse does, this rider is just right in the middle of the seat. So the first thing to get that is to know your seat and know where it's positioned in the saddle. So again, 2 hands, get your seat bones. Riders need to ride with their seat bones forward in the saddle. So if you feel your spine, you'll feel that there's a natural curve in your back. Maybe I'll stand the other way. So yeah, there's a natural curve. My spine is not straight. It goes straight, and then it starts curving in, and then it goes back out. When you're riding, you actually want your spine straight, and you want your seat positioned forward. So to do that, do you see how I have to pull my stomach in? I'm exaggerating. Pull my stomach in, tilt my pelvis forward, so the front of my pelvis comes up and the rear of my pelvis goes down, and then that makes those two seat bones that were positioned there tuck right under, and I'm sitting on them. So that's the seat that you need to ride with. Riders can tend to hollow out their back, so there was the natural curve, and they tend to, because they're going, oh, shoulders back, they're trying to do everything, but they're actually going about it the wrong way, and their spine is hollowing out. Do you see how the seat has gone all the way out the back? My seat bones are somewhere out there, and my pelvis, the front of my pelvis is down, and the back of my pelvis is up. It's the wrong way around. So if you just think about it, natural curve, make my spine straight, so that means pull my stomach in, tilt my pelvis up, and get my two seat bones forward in the saddle. If you've got two seat bones forward, that's your seat. And that's what we call bracing the back, which is the most important thing you need to learn to ride a horse. So to ride a horse, to sit well on a horse, to influence the horse, it's your half halt, it's part of your half halt, it's how to do a transition, it's everything. So yeah, a little bit important. So how do we do this? How do we brace this back? So there's some exercises that we can do that I'll show you now that are just really important to developing that feel, and then once you've mastered them off the horse, you can go and do it on the horse. So we'll look at them now. So the first thing you can do is run to a playground and get on a swing. That's probably the easiest way to figure out how to move your body. So to get a swing to move, how do you get a swing to move? You've got to use something. And that is the bracing of your back. Do you see? It's that action of leaning back. Not that we lean back on a horse, but that's why we sometimes say lean back. It's that thing of pulling, flattening out your spine, and bringing that pelvis so that the rear of your pelvis comes down, and that rear of the pelvis coming down is what pushes the swing, whoops, I don't want to fall, forward, which would, in the horse, that's how you would do a halt to walk transition. So you're halting and you're saying, okay, and walk, and off you go, and by pushing with your spine and your pelvis, with the bracing of the back, that's pushing the horse into it. So get on a swing and start playing with that feeling of pushing with the pelvis in the back to get that swing into motion. So you'll notice when you're swinging forward, and then to come back, you're just relaxed. And then to swing forward, that's again where we're going to relaxation. If you got the swing into motion and you're swinging along, and then you stopped, the swing would eventually swing less and less and less until it came to nothing again. So to keep the swing in motion, you keep your back in motion. It's the same with the horse. You want your back, your horse to keep trotting, or keep your back telling it to keep trotting or cantering or whatever the case is. So that's the first exercise. Get on a swing and play. That's the first one. The second one is, I'm going to have to get onto it feels like a Pilates class in here. So for people that do Pilates, totally recommend it. Good for you. I tend to have a challenge with a Pilates class because my mind tends to go a million miles an hour, and I'm just like so slow. But if you love it, or you can get to love it, do it because it's great. So the next exercise is, bracing the back. Do you see how also when you lie down, hang on, you can see that I can fit my hand under my back because of that natural curve. So in a Pilates class or with bracing the back, the thing is just to squash. Do you see, just by doing that, I've now squashed my hands out of the way. So if you do that yourself, you'll feel that there's no pressure on your hands, brace your back, and there's real pressure on your hands. So you've got to take your hands away. So that's with your back braced. And then just how much you want to brace it. It's just, I guess, how much you want to tilt your pelvis. So there's natural curve, there's bracing the back, and then you can almost brace it to actually lifting your bum off the ground. So just practice all those three levels of how much you want to brace your back. Okay, so the other thing is just doing the one seat bone. So that's just one seat bone or the other seat bone. So it's just about bracing and tilting just one side. So let's say if I wanted to canter that way, I would just use my inside hip bone to say canter, and you see how that bum on that side has come off the ground because I've just tilted that one to say, hey, we're going over there. If I'm going to canter that way, it's just, hey, canter over there. So I call it like popping the hip. So just practice popping your hips to how you want to go. It's also the same with the turning. So you're trotting and you want to do a 10-meter circle, then you would just, depending on how you wanted to move the horse and what it needed, you would say, you know, we're turning here, or depending on what you want to do. But it's basically, can you isolate your body so you can just use one seat bone or the other to influence the horse while bracing all of your back. Cool. Okay, another exercise is grab a book, doesn't matter which one, chuck it on the table, and have it so that it just touches your thighs. Okay, so I'm in a normal position with the normal part of the spine. Now all I'm going to do is brace my back, and you see how you push the book back to the thing. Do you see how, I'm going to put the book back on my thighs again, if I hollow my back, I have no chance of pushing that book back to the table. So how would I ever have a chance of influencing the horse or having my seat even on the horse? Do you see how much it moves? It doesn't even have contact. So there it is, touching your thighs, normal curve, and just brace your back. And it pushes the book back to the table. Okay, so one of the really important stretches that you need to do is stretches for the inner thighs. So you can actually open up your hips so you can sit deeper into the horse. If anything's tight up here, do you see if I tighten my knees, I'm actually going to sit propped up from the saddle rather than if I let go and allow myself to sit down. So a lot of people, when they're trying to sit in the saddle, they're trying to grip with their inner thighs and everything becomes short and tight and actually pop up. So it's actually about lengthening and strengthening those inner thigh muscles so they can stretch and let you sit deeper into the saddle. So a really good one for this is you stand with your two legs together. I might have to go a bit more forward. Then you lift one foot and you put it down so your knee goes out to the side. And then all you need to do is to go down as far as you can onto the floor. So you'll feel it all in that part of your leg, which is what you need to let go. Other side. I'm feeling pretty short and tight this morning, so the aim is to be able to get down on the floor. So once you're warm, just do that as many times a day as you can, and you'll eventually be able to get down on the floor, and that'll be a really nice stretch. The other stretches you can do is just your inner thigh stretch, so just your normal stretches that you do at the gym, that side or that side. And yeah, I think that's about it. They're the main two ones that can really, really help with your riding. So have fun. Okay, so there's some exercises to play with. Once you've really mastered them and developed it, that every time you use those certain muscles, you're clear on how you're using them and you're getting the same response, the same reaction, especially with those using the one seat bones, get on the horse and start practicing. The main key to remember is not getting tight. So if you're like, and I'm going to brace my back now! No. Just use the same muscles. That's why the Pilates class would be so fun. Or just, you don't need a Pilates class, just practice on the ground like I did. Until you can talk, chat to others about how your day was, and you're in that unconscious competence where you're just easily and effortlessly bracing your back, using your pelvis, using your seat, getting your seat bones where you want them without having to think about it too much, just in an effortless way, and then you'll be fine getting it out on the horses. Takes time, but God, it's fun. God, it's worth it. When you can go with your horse and influence your horse with your seat, you start to feel like a master, and it's an awesome way to be feeling. And I love it because then it allows me to feel, I love that idea of a centaur, I think that's the word, when my body and my back melds and connects into my horse's back and his legs become my legs basically. So whatever I think and do with my body, my horse does effortlessly underneath me because we're connected. And when you get that, that's awesome. So happy riding, enjoy it. I know you guys will be great, and speak to you soon. Okay, so the position I'm in now is the right one, and there you can see that my spine's not straight. It's not in that position, but then when you bring it back, the spine's straight, and then I can influence the horse's back with my back.
So the first thing to have that really great seat, like I said, is balance. So now you can see me warming up the horse without stirrups. So my legs are just hanging there loosely, relaxed. I'm not trying to force them into any position. It's more just about, am I completely balanced with the horse? So when he changes direction especially, I don't want to fall to either side. You see how I stay right in the center of his gravity. So wherever he goes, left, right, forward, back, wherever he's going to go, my seat is going to go with him. So I really recommend it to everyone. If you feel confident and your horse is quiet enough, get those stirrups crossed over and at least do your warm-up in with no stirrups. It's really good for your thighs too. You don't need to go to gym. So you can see there, the seat is just going with the horse. The back is straight. There's not that curve in the back because you don't want to see the curve. You just want to see a nice straight spine. And you can see how in that change of direction, I still stay in the center of the saddle. You can see how my seat is moving, but my hands are not. Okay, now we're in the rising trot. So I'm rising, but obviously not using my legs, like my heel, not my heels, what's it called? What's the ball of the foot? Because I don't have stirrups. So I'm just rising up and down, almost letting the horse's back throw me up, and then just coming back down lightly. Still notice that the hands are still, even though my body's going up and down, the hands are locked in that one, well, not locked, that's the wrong word, but they're just staying in that one position to keep his head nice and steady. And again, just watch that my spine stays straight. It doesn't curve or collapse as I go up or down. It's as if someone has grabbed my head and pulled my head to the sky and my legs to the ground. It's all about looking long and elongated on the horse. That's what a dressage rider looks like. So even in that, as we're turning the circle, you'll notice that I don't drift to the outside or to the inside, fall either way. It's right in the center, right in the middle. And that just comes from the balance that I have developed over the years on these horses. And then into the canter. Notice I didn't tip forward or tip back or tip sideways. It's just sitting there nice and long and tall. And I'm staying then without my stirrups centered and strong and tall because of my stomach going into my back. So it's about that tilting of the pelvis. I don't allow myself to separate from my back. It's all my back and my stomach locking me into the saddle and keeping me there so I don't move. So right there, I asked for a little bit more forward canter, and my seat just goes with him. Because I've got the balance, because I've got the relaxation, my seat can just follow his movement. Whether we're turning, whether we're going straight, whatever we're doing, my hips are his hips. My seat is his, or my back is his back. So if we did that $100 note challenge and we had a $100 note under my bum, do you think it would have moved? I don't know. And then into the trot. Notice again, I didn't tip forward or tip back. It was just my seat went into trot seat, saying we're going to trot now, and he just follows. Now I'm in sitting trot with no stirrups, and the same thing. My seat is just locked into that saddle. If there was a $100 note under the saddle, it wouldn't be going. And in seeing those changes of direction, they're really important. So once you're confident riding without your stirrups, do your changes of direction, because that's when you'll notice you falling to the inside or the outside. I know when I did it, I would always fall to the side. I'd be like, oh my God, obviously I'm not good. So you can see in that serpentine, now it's easy and effortless for me. I just look and turn and the horse turns and goes with me.